Easy English conversations.
Simple English. Real conversations.
Hey English learners, welcome back to the Easy English Conversations channel, your cozy place for easy English and real-life conversation. I'm Alex.
And I'm Emma. Thanks for being here with us today.
I'm sitting here with my coffee, and I had one of those mornings where you're technically awake, but your body's like, I'm not on board yet.
Yeah. Like your brain opened the laptop, but the rest of you is still buffering.
Exactly. And I caught myself getting annoyed at my body. Not dramatically, just this quiet, impatient irritation. Like, come on, we have things to do.
That tone, that inner voice, it's subtle, but it's sharp.
And it made me wonder how often we talk to our bodies like that. Not out loud, but internally, as if they're obstacles instead of allies.
Or like faulty machines, something to override, push through, or fix later.
Yeah. And I think that moment, that tiny irritation, is where a lot of bigger stuff actually starts.
I agree. Most people imagine burnout as this dramatic collapse, but for a lot of us, it begins quietly, with small acts of ignoring, small acts of pressure.
Let's sit there for a second. That quiet beginning. Because when people say they're exhausted, they usually mean more than just, I need sleep.
Totally. There's a specific kind of tired that doesn't go away after a nap.
How would you describe it?
It feels heavy, like your body's wearing a coat you can't take off. Your mind is frazzled, jumping between thoughts, but also weirdly numb. And there's often this background soundtrack of self-criticism playing on loop.
That internal criticism is loud for a lot of people.
Or constant. Even when it's quiet, it's still there. Saying things like, you should be doing more, or why is this so hard for you? That voice doesn't shout. It just doesn't leave.
I've heard people call that the quiet fight.
Yes. I love that phrase, even though it sounds gentle, because it's a fight between what your body is asking for and what your mind insists on demanding.
And the body's messages are usually pretty simple.
They are hunger, fatigue, tension, restlessness, fog.
But we've trained ourselves to reinterpret those as inconveniences.
Or as personal failures. Like, if I were stronger, I wouldn't feel this way.
That's such a key point. Because the moment tiredness becomes a moral issue, you're in trouble.
Yeah. Then rest feels like a reward instead of a requirement.
Or worse, a weakness.
Exactly. And that's where a lot of people get stuck in what I think of as a toxic loop.
Walk me through that.
Okay, so you start with a plan, usually an ambitious one, a new routine, a strict schedule, a fitness goal, a productivity system. It looks great on paper.
And unrealistic in practice.
Right. But at first, there's excitement, motivation. Then life happens. You miss a day, or you don't do it right.
A minor mistake.
Very minor. But instead of adjusting, the inner critic jumps in. See? You always do this. Shame and guilt show up.
And shame is exhausting.
It is. So now you're tired, ashamed, and still holding on to a plan that doesn't fit your actual energy. So you push harder.
Which makes you more tired.
And then you either burn out completely, or you quit and blame yourself. Then the cycle restarts with a new plan.
That loop is brutal because it feels logical from the inside.
Yes, especially if you've spent your life being praised for pushing through.
That's one of the harmful modes I want to talk about. The good mode.
The good student. The good employee. The good friend.
The good girl or good boy mode.
Where your worth is tied to being reliable, agreeable, productive.
And your body becomes something you drag along behind you.
Or something you put on autopilot. You don't check in, you just assume it'll keep up.
Until it doesn't.
And when it doesn't, people often say, "My body betrayed me."
That language is interesting.
It is. Because usually, the body was sending messages long before the breakdown. We just didn't want to hear them.
This might be a good moment to introduce a phrase that comes up a lot in English. Run into the ground.
Yeah. When someone says, "I ran myself into the ground," they mean they used up all their energy with no recovery.
And it's often said casually, like it's just part of life.
But if you think about it literally, it's pretty violent imagery.
It is. Another phrase people use is, I'm stuck in a loop.
Which fits perfectly here, repeating the same pattern, expecting a different result.
So let's pause. If someone's listening and thinking, okay, this sounds familiar, what's usually happening underneath all of this?
I think it's a broken relationship with the body, not hatred necessarily, more like neglect.
Or mistrust.
Yes, treating the body as something that needs to be controlled instead of consulted.
That's a big shift. Consultation instead of control.
And it's uncomfortable at first, because listening means you might have to change your plans,
Or scale them back.
which can feel like failure if you're used to all or nothing thinking.
That's another phrase worth noting. All or nothing.
Either I do it perfectly or I don't do it at all.
And there's no room for softness there.
None. Softness gets framed as laziness.
But what if softness is actually intelligence?
I love that reframe. Because the body is incredibly intelligent. It's constantly adjusting, compensating, repairing.
Even while we're criticizing it.
Especially then.
So, if the core problem isn't lack of discipline, what is it?
I'd say it's unrealistic expectations layered on top of chronic self-judgment.
That combination is deadly.
And sneaky, because it disguises itself as ambition or responsibility.
Let me push back a little, though.
Please do.
Some people listening might be thinking, okay, but I have real responsibilities. I can't just rest whenever I'm tired.
That's fair. And this isn't about abandoning responsibility. It's about redefining what responsibility includes.
Say more.
Taking care of your body is not separate from being responsible. It's foundational. If you ignore it long enough, everything else collapses anyway.
So rest isn't the opposite of productivity.
It's what makes sustainable productivity possible.
But culturally, we treat rest like dessert.
You only get it if you finish your vegetables. And even then, you feel guilty enjoying it.
That guilt is so ingrained.
Especially for people who've been praised for endurance, for pushing past limits.
There's also this habit of piling on.
Yes, another useful phrase, to pile on. It means adding more and more when something is already heavy.
Like when you're exhausted and you decide to start a new workout plan, clean your diet, wake up earlier, and learn a new skill all at once.
That's piling on. And it usually backfires.
So if piling on doesn't work, what does?
Gentleness. But not in a vague, fluffy way. In very practical, grounded ways.
Like small adjustments.
Exactly. Small enough that your nervous system doesn't panic.
I want to stay with that idea. But before we go there, let me ask you something.
Okay.
When you personally notice you're getting depleted, another good word, by the way, what's the first sign?
For me, it's irritation. Everything feels slightly annoying. Sounds are louder. People feel more demanding. That's usually my body saying, hey, we're running low.
And what's your old pattern when that happens?
Pushing, tightening my schedule, trying to be more efficient.
And does it work?
Never. It just makes me feel more lopsided.
Lopsided is a great word.
It means off balance, like too much weight on one side of life.
I think a lot of listeners might recognize that feeling.
I hope so. Because recognizing it is the first step toward a different relationship with your body.
So maybe the real question isn't, how do I fix myself?
Maybe it's, what is my body trying to tell me right now?
And are we willing to listen?
That's the hard part.
I think that question, listening without fixing, is where a lot of us freeze.
Because we're so trained to respond with action.
Or correction. Like, okay, I hear you're tired, but let's optimize that tiredness.
Exactly. We jump straight into solutions instead of curiosity.
And curiosity feels slow.
And uncertain. You don't know where it's going to lead. You might have to admit you need less, not more.
Less intensity. Less pressure.
Or just less right now.
That right now matters. Because people hear less and think forever.
Yes, and that's scary, especially for people who rely on structure to feel safe.
I want to talk about the idea of the body as a friend.
I love that framing.
Because if a friend came to you and said, I'm exhausted, I'm overwhelmed, you wouldn't say, have you tried waking up earlier and pushing harder?
Hopefully not. You'd probably say, of course you're tired. Look at what you've been carrying.
And yet, we rarely offer ourselves that tone.
We default to suspicion, like the body is exaggerating.
Or being dramatic.
Or trying to sabotage our goals.
When in reality, it's trying to keep us alive.
And functional, and resilient over time.
That word resilient is interesting, because people often think resilience means enduring more.
But real resilience includes recovery.
Exactly. If you bend a paperclip back and forth without stopping, it breaks.
But if you let it rest metaphorically, it lasts longer.
So what does it mean to treat the body like a friend in practical terms?
For me, it starts with how I interpret signals. Hunger isn't an interruption, it's information. Fatigue isn't failure, it's feedback.
That's a big mindset shift.
It is. And it doesn't happen overnight. You have to practice hearing those messages without arguing with them.
I can hear someone listening and thinking, okay, but what do I actually do?
Let's get concrete.
Good.
One of the first things I suggest is changing how you think about rest.
Not as a reward.
Exactly. Rest is not something you earn after suffering enough. It's a basic requirement, like water.
But that idea clashes hard with hustle culture.
Totally, because hustle culture treats exhaustion like a badge of honor.
People brag about being tired.
I only slept 4 hours. I'm running on fumes.
That's another idiom worth explaining. Running on fumes means you have almost no energy left.
And it's said jokingly, but it's actually a warning sign.
So if rest is a need, not a reward, how do you start honoring that without blowing up your life?
You scale back.
That phrase can be triggering for people.
Yes, because it sounds like giving up. But scaling back isn't quitting, it's adjusting to reality.
Like turning down the volume instead of smashing the speaker.
Exactly. Lighter plans, softer rules.
What do you mean by soft rules?
Rules that have flexibility built in. Instead of, I must exercise an hour every day, it becomes, I'll move my body in some way most days.
That leaves room for variation.
And for listening. Some days, movement is a walk. Some days, it's stretching. Some days, it's rest.
That's a huge departure from rigid systems.
Rigid systems work. Until they don't. And when they fail, people blame themselves instead of the system.
That blame feeds the toxic loop we talked about earlier.
Yes. And the loop keeps you stuck.
Another way people get stuck is through food rules.
Oh, absolutely.
Which brings us to something I really like, the idea of plate peace.
I love that phrase because it's so gentle.
What does it mean to you?
Plate peace is about reducing conflict around eating. It's choosing meals that feel satisfying, nourishing, and calm, not perfect.
Not optimized.
Right. It's asking, what would help my body feel steady right now? Instead of, what's the best or cleanest option?
That question alone changes the tone.
It does. And it's especially helpful for people who feel frazzled around food.
Frazzled is another good word.
It means mentally scattered, overstimulated, on edge.
So plate peace might look like
Eating regularly, not skipping meals to be productive, including foods you enjoy, sitting down, if possible.
simple, but not easy.
Exactly. Simple things are often the hardest when you're depleted.
Depleted, meaning drained, used up.
Yes. When you're depleted, decision-making is harder. Everything feels heavier.
Which is why gentle habits matter more than ambitious ones.
That's such an important point. When energy is low, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems.
So, what systems actually support a tired body?
Very small ones. Almost boring ones.
I love boring systems.
Me too. Like drinking a glass of water when you wake up.
That's one of my favorites because it's so non-threatening.
Or taking a 10-minute walk.
Let's talk about that. People hear walk and think it doesn't count.
Yes! There's this idea that if it's not intense, it's useless.
But walking is incredibly regulating.
For the nervous system, for digestion, for mood.
And 10 minutes feels doable even on rough days.
That's key. The habit has to fit the worst day, not the best one.
That might be one of the most important lines of this whole conversation.
Because people design routines for their highest energy selves and then feel ashamed when they can't keep up.
That shame leads to quitting entirely.
Or to pushing even harder, which leads back to burnout.
Another gentle habit that doesn't get enough respect is sleep.
Sleep is huge, and it's so often treated as optional.
Or negotiable.
Exactly. People say, I'll catch up later.
Which rarely works.
No. Sleep debt accumulates. And when you're underslept, everything feels more threatening.
Your emotional regulation drops.
Your body's repair systems don't work as well.
I've heard people describe sleep as the night repair team.
I love that. While you're sleeping, your body is doing maintenance.
So, what does sleep respect look like?
Small boundaries, like putting your phone away 15 minutes earlier.
That sounds almost laughable, but it matters.
It does. It signals to your body that it's safe to wind down.
Anchored routines help too.
Yes. Doing the same small things before bed so your nervous system recognizes the pattern.
None of this is flashy.
No. And that's why it works.
I want to circle back to language for a moment, because naming these experiences matters.
It really does.
When someone says, I'm lazy, that shuts everything down.
But if they say, I'm depleted, there's room for compassion.
Or, I'm lopsided.
Or, I've been piling on.
Those phrases describe situations, not character flaws.
And that's powerful. Because you can change a situation. You don't have to fix who you are.
So, if someone is listening right now and thinking, okay, I see myself in this, what's one gentle question they could ask today?
I'd say, what would support me, not push me, in this moment?
That's a very different orientation.
It is. And it might lead to a very small action.
Or no action at all.
Sometimes support is stopping.
That can feel radical.
Especially if you're used to measuring your worth by output.
We're not saying effort doesn't matter.
Not at all. We're saying effort without care is unsustainable.
And that sustainability is an act of respect.
For your body, for your future self.
There's a phrase I love: cut yourself some slack.
Yes, that means allowing yourself more grace, more margin for error.
Not attacking yourself for being human.
Exactly. Adding doesn't attack. Listening doesn't judge.
I think that's a good place to pause.
Yeah.
Because if people can take nothing else from this section, it's the idea that your body isn't the enemy.
It's been on your side the whole time.
The question is whether we're ready to change how we respond to it.
And maybe start with something small enough to feel safe.
I keep thinking about that word, safe.
Me too.
Because so much of what we've talked about really comes down to whether the body feels safe enough to relax.
Yes. And safety isn't just about external circumstances. It's also about how we treat ourselves internally.
The tone we use?
Exactly. If your inner voice is constantly harsh or demanding, your body stays braced.
Even if, technically, nothing urgent is happening.
Right. You can be sitting on the couch and still feel like you're in danger because you're under attack from your own thoughts.
That's such an important distinction. Resting physically while staying mentally on guard doesn't actually restore you.
No, it just creates more confusion. People say, I rested all weekend. Why am I still tired?
Because rest isn't just the absence of activity.
It's the presence of permission.
Permission to slow down.
Permission to be unfinished.
Permission to not optimize every second.
And that permission has to come from inside. You can't outsource it.
I want to talk about effort for a moment, because I don't want this conversation to be misunderstood.
I'm glad you said that.
This isn't about never challenging yourself or avoiding growth.
No, it's about timing and context.
And relationship.
Yes, if you have a respectful relationship with your body, you'll still do hard things, but you'll recover from them.
Recovery is the missing piece.
So many people live in constant output mode.
Without input.
Or repair.
Which leads to that feeling of being, what's another good word?
Hollow.
That's a strong one.
Hollow is when you're functioning, but there's nothing left in the tank emotionally.
And when you're hollow, even good things feel like too much.
Exactly. Invitations feel overwhelming. Small tasks feel enormous.
That's often when people start pushing themselves harder. Ironically.
Because they're afraid of falling behind.
Falling behind what?
An imaginary timeline. A version of themselves they think they're supposed to be.
That imagined self is exhausting.
And usually unrealistic. Or outdated.
That's another thing we don't talk about enough. Our goals don't always age with us.
Yes. You might still be chasing something that made sense 5 years ago, but no longer fits your life or energy.
And instead of questioning the goal, you question yourself.
Which is backwards.
So part of self-compassion is reassessment.
Asking, does this still make sense for me?
Without judgment.
Without drama. Just curiosity.
That brings us back to scaling back not as failure, but as wisdom.
Scaling back can be an act of maturity.
And self-trust.
Because you're saying, I believe my experience.
That's huge.
It really is. Especially for people who've been taught to override their own signals.
I want to return to language again, because words shape experience.
They do.
When someone says, I'm pushing through, what does that imply?
That there's resistance. That something is being forced.
Versus saying, I'm pacing myself.
Totally different energy.
Pacing implies partnership.
And foresight. Like you're thinking about the whole journey, not just this moment.
Another phrase people use is suck it up.
Oof. Yeah.
That phrase leaves no room for nuance.
Or care. It implies feelings are inconvenient.
Compare that to Tune back into.
That's such a gentle phrase.
It suggests you were connected before, and you can be again.
And that disconnection isn't a failure, it's just something that happens under stress.
Stress pulls us outward.
Constantly, toward performance, comparison, urgency.
Tuning back in is a return.
And returns don't have to be dramatic.
Sometimes it's literally just noticing your breath,
Or noticing you're thirsty.
or that your shoulders are up by your ears.
Those small notices are acts of respect.
They say, you matter.
Even when you're not producing,
That's the radical part.
it really is.
I want to acknowledge something, though. For some people, slowing down feels unsafe.
Yes. Thank you for naming that.
If you grew up in chaos or instability, rest can feel like vulnerability.
Or like something bad will happen if you stop paying attention.
In that case, gentleness has to be even gentler.
Exactly. You don't force softness. You introduce it gradually.
Maybe it starts with neutral habits,
Like walking. Or drinking water.
or going to bed 15 minutes earlier.
Things that don't require emotional exposure.
And over time, the body learns, oh, this is okay.
Nothing bad happened when I rested.
That learning is slow.
And that's okay.
We live in a culture that wants fast transformation,
But bodies move at biological speed.
which is slower than ambition.
And faster than burnout recovery, ironically.
That's a great point.
If you don't listen early, the body will force rest later.
Usually in ways you didn't plan for,
Illness, injury, emotional collapse.
which is why listening sooner is actually efficient,
But not in a productivity hack way.
in a humane way.
I was hoping you would,
I'd love to talk about future self for a moment.
which creates a lot of pressure.
People often motivate themselves with fear. If I don't do this now, my future self will suffer.
I love that idea.
But what if we motivated ourselves with gratitude instead?
Like going to bed on time.
Doing one small thing today that your future self quietly appreciates,
Or choosing a meal that actually satisfies you.
or not skipping lunch.
Yes, it shows up everywhere.
That's plate peace again.
They need consistency and kindness.
The future self doesn't need perfection.
Always rest.
And rest.
I'd want them to know that being stuck doesn't mean they're broken.
If someone is listening and feels stuck in a loop right now, what would you want them to hear?
Or relief.
It means something needs attention
And those things don't require punishment.
or adjustment.
Care that's often very unglamorous.
They require care.
Especially boring.
Boring, even,
Because it's sustainable.
but boring care is powerful.
Sustainability over intensity.
That's the theme that keeps coming back.
Listening over fixing.
Relationship over control.
I'd say, treat your body like someone you want to stay in a long-term relationship with.
If we had to distill this entire conversation into one shift,
Or impress.
not someone you're trying to dominate,
A relationship requires negotiation
or squeeze results out of,
and forgiveness.
and patience,
Because you will mess up.
especially forgiveness.
You'll pile on.
You'll ignore signals sometimes.
And the goal isn't to never do that
You'll push when you shouldn't.
and repair faster.
The goal is to notice sooner.
And changing course, even slightly,
Repair can be as simple as saying, okay, I hear you now.
I love invitations.
I want to end with a small invitation.
And pause there.
Just for today or tomorrow, notice one moment where you normally push past yourself.
What would help right now?
Ask one gentle question instead of issuing a command.
One good thing, not 10.
Or, what's one good thing I can do for myself?
That's the hardest part.
And let that be enough.
Quietly
It is. But it's also where things start to change.
and in a way that actually lasts.
Slowly.
Yeah, we're really glad you're here.
Thanks for sitting with us in this conversation.
Like the resilient friends your bodies already are.
Take care of yourselves.